Starrcast returns to the Chicago area this Labor Day weekend. Tickets for Starrcast 6 are now on sale at Starrcast.com. Join us at the Hyatt Regency Schaumburg starting Friday night, September 1st, for unique fan experiences with wrestling legends from yesterday and superstars from today. Follow Starrcast events on Twitter for the latest updates about all things Starrcast. Can't be in Chicago? Premiere Streaming Network has you covered. Visit StarrcastOnPremiere.com and get daily access or save with the weekend bundle. Get all past Starrcast, the upcoming Wrestling Showcase event, as well as thousands of hours of content from your favorite promotions and stars, and 2 months of Premiere Plus for free. Order now at StarrcastOnPremiere.com. Starrcast 6 is brought to you in part by ProWrestlingCrate.com. Monthly mystery crates for die-hard wrestling fans. Plans start at $9.95 and are the perfect gift for any wrestling fan. Visit ProWrestlingCrate.com today.
Recognized symbol of excellence in sports entertainment.
Hello and welcome to ARN. This is Paul Bromwell, and as always, I'm joined once again by the Hall of Famer, founder of the Four Horsemen, creator of the Spine Buster, our TV champion, a lover of chocolate, a hater of cheese, a man who, thanks to this show, is forever tied to Blue Chew and that 8-foot stiff Elegante. That's right. He's the enforcer. He's Double A. He's Arn Anderson. Arn, how are you today, my friend?
I am fixing to go on strike if we don't remove Elegante from our conversations.
He's going to be done. No more from the Would You Rathers. None of it. He's over it.
Let's get creative, guys. That was too easy.
Oh, man, we had a lot of fun last week with the Ask Arn Almost Anything and the Would You Rathers. And so I want to thank all of you for participating in that show. And as we said last week, the next time we do that, we're going to bring Brock on, aren't we, Arn?
Yes, we are. Be interested to hear what he has to say. Pretty sharp kid. That 6 figures I spent sending him through ECU was not for naught.
Wow. I'm not looking forward to doing that with my own son soon. The college bills. Hey, listen, before we go any further with this week's show, because we're diving back into the history, we're going back to April 1993. I want to make sure that everyone knows as this show drops, you and Brock are currently in Orlando, Florida. How's that sound? At the Fanboy Expo, and I know you're bringing everybody with you September 1st, and it runs through September 3rd. How excited are you to be there and meet the fans?
Oh, wonderful, because, that's a destination. Orlando has people from all over the world. Every week it's a new bunch of tourists coming through there. And, it's a perfect situation to make. It's Labor Day. It's a holiday. It's end of summer. It's a destination. There's so many reasons to come down there and just make this one of the things on your shopping list. Come meet us. Let us thank you. Let us take some pictures, tell some stories. My grandmother hated your guts is one of my favorites.
And if you're not in the Southeast and you're thinking, well, I'm in the Northeast. Does Arn ever come up north? Well, September 15th through 17th is your chance, right, Arn? Because you're going to Granite Con for the first time with Brock.
Yes, sir. First time up there. And we don't get up there nearly enough because we live in the South and there's all these travel issues these days. Cancellations and such, so you try to keep it in your hemisphere, but we're very excited about this one.
That's right. It's in Manchester, New Hampshire. So go to granitecon.com And make sure you take advantage of all these opportunities to meet Double A. And Arn, we know most of our fans that are listening to the show, they've had opportunities to meet you, but some of them, man, they really want to get a chance to meet you. And so please, I hope it works out for some of you to do this. I know Nick Lenz said last week he's looking forward to seeing you in Orlando. But make sure you take advantage of these opportunities, and we will continue to announce Arn's upcoming appearances on this show as we faithfully have, and we'll continue to do so that you can make sure that you take advantage of your opportunity to get to meet the Enforcer. With that said, I also want to take the time to remind our listeners about arnlinks.com. This is the website that has all things Enforcer. We have links to our social media, the entire episode library, and links to both the Horsemen and Arn Anderson merch stores. There are 2 different merch stores on the site, so check them out. Horseman and Arn Anderson. You can buy and purchase, if you're watching on YouTube, a jacket looks just like the one I have behind me here, the Horseman jacket, the Horseman hat, shirts like Arn and I are wearing. He's got that awesome Four Horsemen shirt on. I'm rocking the TV title shirt as well. So check it out. That's where you can really support the show. We got some new fun designs coming in. Dom D'Angelo, even JD Hoop is working on some designs for us. So make sure you check out the store and take a look at some of those designs as they come in. And if you have some ideas, just tag us on social media and we'll make sure we get some of those new designs added to the store. But Arn, I know you're so thankful for the support that our listeners give to us when it comes to the merch.
I absolutely am, and more importantly, is I wanted this to be for the fans, because when the Horsemen were riding wide open, there was no merch, and I've heard over the years, man, I tried to find T-shirts on you guys, and this and that and the other, and much less hats and jackets and all that stuff, and it just wasn't available. So it was my quest over the last couple of years to find the right people. Paul is a big benefactor on doing a lot of legwork and finding the right people to do some quality stuff, and it's all for the fans. Be proud to wear one of these T-shirts, guys. I guarantee you it's a conversation piece. You'll find somebody that in the immediate area that will immediately say, like that T-shirt, man, where'd you get that?
That's right.
I love those guys back in the day.
Yeah, flash up those 4 fingers. So there you go. Well, listen, guys, we're going to kick off this week's show. We're digging back into Arn's archives of his history, and we're picking up with the storyline in April 1993. And in March, the last time we were together, I guess 2 weeks ago, we watched the segment where you, sir, announced, along with Rick, your return to the ring. And this week, we have the return of your big return to television. And we have 5 clips this week. This is going to be our first one. We're going to watch your long-awaited return. It's April 3rd. It's an episode of WCW Saturday Night. And there's a promo that follows. You ready to check this one out together?
You bet.
All right, here we go.
Here he comes. And I know it's a moment he's been waiting for a long time. Truly. And I know you'll agree with me, Jesse the Body Ventura, one of the greatest athletes wrestling has ever seen. There you see that sign. That just about says it all.
The Four Horsemen are forever. And you know what I can't believe, Shabani? There's people on their feet standing for Arn Anderson. What a thrill it's got to be for Arn. And if I was Erik Watts, even I would head back to Oklahoma at this point in time.
Well, knowing Erik Watts as well as I know him, I know
he's too dumb to go back to Oklahoma.
That's not what I was going to say. I was going to say that he would not go back to Oklahoma out of fear. And I'm sure he is watching on Arn Anderson. We're going to... Oh, look at that quickness. One of the things that's made Arn Anderson so great in World Championship Wrestling not only has been his determination and his ability, but his deceptive quickness. Maybe one of the quickest left hands the sport has ever seen as far as the punch is concerned.
Absolutely, and I'll tell you what else, the deceptive strength of Arn Anderson. Look into the eyes. Those are all business. Check out his eyes. You can read a guy by his eyes, Tony.
There's something to be said, and of course we have heard from Dustin Rhodes in weeks past. We saw Erik Watts, Barry Windham, Brad Armstrong. Arn Anderson's father was not a wrestler, but he grew up in a wrestling family, the Anderson family, and there's something to be said, that intangible that they take with them being in wrestling families.
And look at this. The reputation's there. He went after Arn Anderson's knee, and Anderson ain't going to take kindly to that. Whoa, rams him into the post.
It is well known in this sport that not only is Flair a friend of Arn Anderson, but he is also family. Flair being a member or a cousin of the Anderson family. And Arn Anderson, and this is something that's been passed down through the generations, the hammerlock slam, if you will, on the arm. Stomping away. Well, he is so focused.
He's methodical in the ring. That's what I like about him. Step over into the armbar. Look at the pressure he's putting on the shoulder, the elbow right there. It's a message being sent out to everybody right now by Arn Anderson. Erik Watts probably in particular.
Anderson has been a World Tag Team Champion on more than one occasion. He has been the World Television Champion and regularly the top contender to the World Heavyweight title. Now that he's back in the picture, I'm sure he will quickly move up the ladder as well. Driving the knee right down to the arm, right on the bicep, and grinding now up into the shoulder area.
Well, Rex Cooper made a mistake early in this bout, and that was he went after Arn's knee that got injured. And when you've had, whoa!
Spine buster. This one is over, Jesse Ventura.
And there you see the four. The four rises up. Arn Anderson with a triumphant return to World Championship Wrestling, and I personally couldn't be more overjoyed to have him back. Double A, the enforcer, Arn Anderson. There you see the fans holding up the four. They can't help it. The hands cramp. Arn Anderson catching Cooper with the spine buster here. Beautiful swivel and pivot. Drives him into the mat. Rolls him up. Hooks the leg. 1, 2, 3. The enforcer wins a big one. And now, standing by with Tony Schiavone, the one, the only. Well, I'll let Tony tell ya.
It's the one and only Nature Boy Ric Flair. And
She loves me, Tony. How about Double A? How about Double A? How about the Four Horsemen? You know, Tony, I could make a living managing him all the way to the World Heavyweight Championship. I'm talking Double A, the enforcer, the man. And you know what I'm talking about. WCW, Saturday night. This is it. We're talking about Slamboree, the Night of the Legends. And let me just say to you that you thought the Beatles were... Woo! They thought the reunion of the Beatles was big time. They thought the reunion of the Stones was big time. Well, let me say to you, Slamboree, the Four Horsemen. I'm not laying the cards on the table now, but May 23rd at Slamboree, it could be. Woo! Double A, brother, you tore him up, Daddy.
Do you realize how good it feels to excel at your given profession? I feel better at now than I've felt in 4 months. But now, enough's enough. We got Missy Hyde back here beside herself on the party. Fine, there's a time for that, but now I'm going to ask you in front of all these people and the world, enough's enough. It's time you put these on, and you and I quit milking these people and get in this ring for a tag match. Huh? What?
What about it, Rick?
Yes?
Y'all want me to say I'm going to here wrestle next week? I'm not ready, Double A. I'm not in that frame of mind. I love you, but I'm not ready to wrestle yet.
When the time is right, heads are going to roll. This is not a myth. This is a fact.
See you tomorrow night.
Arn, there we go. We talked about it last week. Flair's still under that no-compete clause that was going on, 30 days as far as that he had with the WWF at the time. But some things I want to talk about with this one, because you're looking good. You come back, match ends with the beautiful spine buster, 4 fingers in the air. Schiavone and Ventura, they make it feel very significant, your return on commentary, which is good to hear. Tony's even, throwing it back to JCP days, alluding to you being the cousins to the Andersons, cousin to Ric Flair, should I say, and all that. And it's interesting because we know where the story is going. You're going to challenge Barry for the World Heavyweight title, but Flair, even when he comes over to Tony Schiavone, starts talking about it, or alluding to it, should I say, about you being kind of that contender for a world title. How fun was this to see?
Yeah, and that might have been overshooting it a little bit. I think more importantly than what my position would be as far as a challenger for the world title is just there's that feel-good moment. You want to see the Hardys together. You don't want to see them broke up. You don't want to see the Steiners broke up. You don't want to see the Road Warriors broke up. The fans would rather see you together and doing well, and I think that's what they were waiting to see because we have such a storied past.
Did you do you all need to try to, something that obviously with Flair's, 30-day non-compete, is it just simply you feel like this is what's got to work for us right now, him just coming out, cutting a promo week in, week out until he can finally, make his return in the ring? This will just have to be what works for us?
Well, it has to be what we call a tease because that's all it can be. He literally can't get in the ring and wrestle. I mean, I guess it's a condition of his release, right, from WWF. So, I mean, it's okay as long as you're seeing him on TV and he's teasing it and makes you want to see it. It's about the best of a bad situation.
That tease is also the perfect segue to our first fan question this week. It comes from Scott Golden, and he says, how far ahead of time did you know that the Horsemen were going to be reformed?
I was never sure of anything. Questions, what do you think about this and that and the other? When Tully didn't come, that left a huge, huge gap. And there's no way to fix that. There was who's available, what names are out there, who can you get, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. There was always some of that rhetoric. I was more concerned on making my reappearance after the injury because I was out for the longest time I'd ever been out of the business. And I was more concentrating on letting everybody see that there was no nagging injury that was going to keep me from performing. What they had 4 months prior is what they were going to have then.
We want to pause this episode of ARN to talk to you about something ARN and I are very passionate about, and that's sleep quality. And if you're waking up too hot or too cold, we highly recommend you check out Miracle Made's bed sheets. They're inspired by NASA. Miracle Made uses silver-infused fabrics and makes temperature-regulating bedding so you can sleep at the perfect temperature all night long. Did you know that traditional bed sheets can harbor more bacteria than a toilet seat? That's freaking gross. That can lead to acne, allergies, and stuffy noses, and that's awful. Nobody wants that. Miracle Made offers a whole line of self-cleaning, eco-friendly bedding, such as sheets, pillowcases, and comforters, and it prevents 99% of bacteria and requires 3 times less laundry. The self-cooling properties for better quality sleep are where it's at. They use silver-infused fabrics, as I said, inspired by NASA. And the Miracle Made sheets are thermoregulating and designed to keep you at the perfect temperature all night long. You've heard Arn and I talk about it before. We like it cold and dark in the rooms. That's how the Horsemen liked it after they were done a busy night. And that's how you'll enjoy it too. And you can get it right here. Again, very clean, bacteria free. So go to trymiracle.com/ARN to try Miracle Made sheets today. And whether you're buying them for yourself or as a gift for a loved one, if you order today, you can save over 40%. And if you use our promo code ARN at checkout, you'll get 3 free towels and save an extra 20% off. Listen, Miracle is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you aren't 100% satisfied, you're going to get a full refund. Upgrade your sleep with a Miracle Made right now. Go to trymiracle.com/ARN and use the code ARN to claim your free 3-piece towel set and save over 40% off. Again, that's trymiracle.com/ARN and treat yourself to a great night's sleep. And we want to thank you, Miracle Made, for sponsoring this episode of The ARN Show. With, you said it, no, and the Tully is not going to be available. He's not going to be a part of it. Do you remember if there was ever a time where you and Flair were like, listen, we know this is the Four Horsemen is a money it's a big business. It's going to be big business for us. But still, it's like, man, without having Tully, and who knows who would even be the third, the third or fourth members. Do we still want to keep doing this? Like, did that ever enter your heads or conversation?
We knew that unless it was Tully, it was going to be a less than.
Yeah.
It was a chemistry between the three of us and JJ that was just, no matter who that other guy was, that foundation would have carried it. But you can't do it without Tully. Just like if you would have had Tully, you couldn't have done it without me. I believe that.
Oh, I agree. So it was one of those things, we'll go with what you want us to go with, but at the end of the day, you and Flair both knew, hey, it's going to be a little bit more lackluster. Never going to be what it was without Tully Blanchard.
We knew that. We had that conversation. It could never be, as hot or as strong as it was the first time because our quality opponents made it that way back in the Crockett days. You got to go back and remember who were we wrestling every night, and that roster was not available. You're only as strong as your opponent.
True. Well, moving on from your return here, Arn, during our March show, we teased that 6-man tag match in Smoky Mountain Wrestling. It's the Bluegrass Brawl, and it takes place April 2nd, 1993, in Pikeville, Kentucky, at the Pikeville, Kentucky College Gym with 2,000 in attendance. The match that main evented the card that night was a 3-team elimination street fight. Here you go. It's you and the Rock and Roll Express taking on the Heavenly Bodies made up of Dr. Tom Pritchard, Stan Lane, and Bobby Eaton, and the stud stable of Robert Fuller, Jimmy Golden, and Dutch Mantell. This is I can't wait to watch this. Here we go. We got it for you right here, Arn. It's the Smoky Mountain Wrestling Bluegrass Brawl, April 2nd, 1993.
Absolute war. We have mass confusion, 3 or 4 wrestlers bleeding. Everyone has to be beaten down and worn out, and Jim Cornette continues to circle this ring like a marathon runner.
Part of the time he's going after, who was that just took off?
I think it was Eaton headed for the dressing room with Robert Gibson behind him in hot pursuit.
Stan Lane nails Arn Anderson. Arn slips out for a deep breath. Jimmy Golden after Ricky Morton. Tom Pritchard choking Mantell with his own bullwhip.
Stan Lane has Robert Fuller's belt choking him down. And look here, Morton and Anderson trying to spread eagle Jimmy Golden, and they have succeeded.
Gibson and Eaton are no longer with us. They're all the way in the back.
They are climbing the support of the backboard.
Stan Lane hits the floor after somebody, Ricky Morton. Morton drills him with the right hand.
Cornette is in the middle of it. He finally got in that ring, and look what Mantell has got.
Dutch his body. Wraps the bullwhip around Jimmy Cornette. Tom Pritchard nailed him from behind with Cornette's spare tennis racket. And we had, a 2 count on Dutch, so they're still alive.
Cornette takes off, Mantell in pursuit. Ooh, Eaton was rammed into that ring post, and now Arn Anderson's chewing on his forehead.
It was Eaton that brought Arn here because he felt like Bobby turned his back on him. Fuller going after Stan Lane with a hefty foot. Catches a chair in midair from Dutch Mantell.
Robert Fuller, but the chair is blocked by Gibson. They're fighting for control there. Pritchard down. Morton grabs the chair. Let's see what's going to happen as the Rock and Roll Express doubles up.
Around the ring, 1, 2, 3.
The stud stable are out of this one. One team down and 2 to go.
Fuller got defeated. The stable is out. Stud stable is out. That leaves the Heavenly Bodies in the Rock and Roll with Arn.
Although the stud stable's out, it hasn't stopped Dutch Mantell. He's using that whip to choke down Robert Gibson.
And look at Jimmy Golden. Both of them are supposed to be out of here. Stud Stable's supposed to be gone, but Golden and Mantell are still here.
They're hanging in to get those last flicks. Fuller rolls out the other side, so we're down to 6 wrestlers.
And Jimmy Cornette. Dangerous weapon.
Eliminates a little confusion for you and I, but not much for those 6 wrestlers.
That's right. Robert Fuller comes back and goes after Robert Gibson. He is really frustrated. I know that Fuller thought the stud stable was going to win this one. Count of 1, 2. Only 2.
Morton bails out with 1 count to go. Look here. Richard being catapulted on the Morton center ring, but Gibson saves him.
Ricky Morton, one more time, keeps the Rock and Roll and Arn alive.
Look what Arn Anderson has got his hands on, will you?
Oh, Arn's got a fire extinguisher. He just nailed Bobby Eaton.
I hope they can see better than we can what's going on in that ring.
And Tom Pritchard and Stan Lane was the first. Oh, DDT. What a DDT.
And he goes again.
2 of them.
The double A.
He doesn't have to do this, but he's loving every minute of it.
They don't call the enforcers or nothing.
And DDT, the entire Heavenly Body team.
And Ricky Morton politely clears our table.
He's got something in mind.
He's going to war with the table. All right, battering ram time. They're mounting that table in the corner to give it some stability. And they're shooting first Pritchard, the Lamb. Here goes Eaton. Here goes Stan Lane.
3 in a row. The only thing missing is Jimmy Cornette.
And they're going to get him.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Jimmy. Eaton trying to save him, and here's Cornette.
For the figure 4.
The Mighty Mouth is down. Robert Gibson with the figure 4. Is this going to be it?
Can they legally beat him? Is he part of this? I don't know.
Everything else has happened, I guess so. Now Pritchard with Gibson. 1, 2, 3, he got him. And the winners are the Heavenly Bodies. The Heavenly Bodies come out victorious, and Robert Gibson, whose leg was injured early on, tried to get that figure 4 on Jimmy Cornette, and Gibson was limping badly, but he went for that figure 4. It was hooked on. He got nailed at that point, rolled up, and Pritchard covered him.
My goodness, what a brawl that was, Arn.
So much fun.
What do you have any memories from that match at all as you sat there and watched it back? I mean, that was just, you were throwing out DDTs, you guys are using tables, and I'm watching a lot of technically, sound wrestlers that you normally don't see in that kind of environment.
Well, that's what made a street fight special, because you wrestled 99% of the time, and 1% of the time you had a street fight, and that got wild. Really got wild. That was so much fun. I enjoyed that little stint I had over there. I think it was only 3 shots, but working with Cornette and all those guys, just drive over the mountain from Charlotte and have a good time and drive back home. It was great.
Well, it is a Continental Wrestling reunion, if you think about it, with all those guys in there, because most of our fans know that Jimmy Golden and Robert Fuller would become Bunkhouse Buck and Colonel Robert Parker in WCW in the coming months. What about Dutch Mantell? I mean, he's there.
That man got a throw rug on his back. The hairiest back of all time. He is the missing link betwixt cavemen and regular men.
What did you think about Robert and Ron Fuller as we take a look at Robert Parker here? What do you remember of those guys?
Well, those guys were never get the credit for being great workers. They really were. Ron, Robert, Jimmy Golden.
Yeah.
Great baby faces. And, you got to see that down in Pensacola because you're in the same towns every week. And you had to have some stuff on your tool belt when you go into those same towns every week to change your matches up and make them completely different. And those guys could talk. They had that Southern wang, but, they were Southern guys, and it worked. There was a huge audience for that in the South.
We have a couple of listener questions, and they wrote in, and so we're going to go through those. Justin Erie says, listen, we've heard a lot of impersonations before, and you've spoiled us with some of them. He wants to know, do you have a Jim Cornette impersonation?
I don't. God, I don't.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I don't.
That's all good. Edward Jones, advisor and friend of the show, Lenny Bakken, he's back, and he wrote, did Arn negotiate his own pay for Smoky Mountain as a separate deal, or was it just part of his WCW contract?
No, it was separate. Jimmy and I worked it out. He actually had a very generous offer. And,
okay.
That was outside my contract, which made it even better.
And that's cool. The WCW was cool with that. You doing some stuff outside of their four walls.
There were so many things going on with the Watts getting gone and replacing him and all that. I was small change on the grand scale of whether they were going to pay me extra or not.
Okay. Michael Eldridge, she says, where does Arn rank Smoky Mountain Wrestling compared to other territories like Jim Crockett, Mid-South, Georgia Championship Wrestling?
Jimmy went from nothing, again, it was a startup company, to a viable entity, and it had its fans, and it was successful, and it paid its bills, and all those things that small territories had to do. You had to be very careful that you kept your overhead low. And Jimmy was smart because he used talented guys that were going to, go out and represent your product in a positive way, and good performers. And everybody, look at those 9 guys. I mean, Tom Pritchard has trained all the WWE guys.
Yeah.
Name it. Over the last 15 years, if you say who has helped and trained the most talent of anybody, it's Tom Pritchard.
Dr. Tom, yeah.
Hell yeah. So Cornette's a smart guy. And he was answering to his money man, and he always had an answer that made sense. If business was down, what was the reason? If business was up, what was the reason? And, running a small territory, I wish we had 5 more of them today.
I'm with you. Hey, and once again, you get to work with one of your best friends and Bobby Eaton down there, too.
Yeah. You could never replace that or put a price on it.
Jonathan Woolridge is interested to know if you think the WCW and SMW relationship could have been beneficial long-term if Cornette and the powers that be in WCW could have gotten along. Do you think you could have seen some fun symmetry or at least a partnership or something there?
Yeah, but I think that they would look at that as a step backwards. I think that the reason they bought Jim Crockett when they did, it was still a big, viable company on a major scale and could point to any number of superstars that they had working, for their company. Cornette was much smaller scale.
Right. So they're like, we're going to do our thing. That's just kind of.
We're going to create a product that's different,
right.
And that's where we got all those, the Vader and Sting vignette and all that stuff. They wanted to do things their way, and they're a huge company with a lot of money backing them and a huge reputation, so they could call their own shots.
Well, Arn, moving on from Smoky Mountain, you and Bobby Eaton, speaking of Bobby, take your personal issues to the April 17th episode of Worldwide. So the previous week, Bobby cost you a match on the main event against Erik Watts. Okay, so as we bring people along on the storyline here, he had some outside interference, cost you the match. And then following a match against Johnny Gunn, you confront Bobby in the ring. And in our third clip of the week, we had the last minute of the match and the confrontation between you two. So this will be a fun one to watch together. This is April 17th from the WCW Worldwide show from 1993. Here we go.
Bobby keeping his balance and sending Gunn in. Oh, he just moved out of the way. Bobby, what quickness he's always exhibited in the ring.
And that's what the risk you run when you go up those ropes and come flying blindly through the air like Johnny Gunn did right there. You better hit your opponent. And
Driving the knee right between the shoulder blades. Bobby.
Got him.
Yes, sir. He went to beautiful Bobby.
And there's the mistake. Johnny Gunn had a great match going until the point he went up to the top rope. He missed. Beautiful Bobby went up to the top rope. He did not miss.
Beautiful Bobby with a tremendous win here on WCW Worldwide Wrestling. And I was going to go to the replay, but look here. Arn Anderson has made his way to the ring. Anderson. Wait a minute, what's going on here?
I think he's asking for the mic. Let's listen
Bobby,
in.
I feel a little bit strange having to come out here and butt into national television to get a few words with you, but it seems like this is the only way I'm going to get a few words with you.
All right.
You see, about 4 months ago when I went down with this knee injury, I thought I might never wrestle again, and I was kind of walking around kicking myself into my pants, feeling sorry for myself. And I heard all the people whispering. I heard them all whispering, yeah, Anderson, you finally got back some of what you've been giving out all these years. You deserved it. And I got to thinking about it. It made me mad at first, but then I got to thinking, yeah, well, maybe they're right. Then a guy came up to me in the gym, and he said, Anderson, I disagreed with the way you've done some of the things in your career. He said, but I want you to get well for one reason and one reason only. Because there's nothing more tragic, you just hang on. There's nothing more tragic than a world-class athlete going down in the prime of his career. But the one person, hang on, Bobby, the one person that I expected to come by, say, hey, Arn, are you getting well? What can I do? I'm going to wait on you. We're going to try this thing. The one guy I depended on was my partner. That's you, bud. Where were you, Bobby? You were out running around the country. You're out running around the country. Some minor league outfit. Went back to some of your old cronies. Well, let me explain something to you, Bobby. I'm well. You didn't need me. You bailed on me. Let me explain something to you, pal. I'm well and I don't need you. Okay? As far as I'm concerned, we're through. But hey, I'm not going to get violent, Bobby. I'm not going to hit you. I'm not going to hit you. Oh, the hell I'm not.
Whoa! Arn Anderson! Spine buster, a beautiful Bobby! And Anderson means business!
He's sending a message out to his former partner. It's all over. Beautiful Bobby withering in pain.
Fans, as Anderson walks away, Barry Windham against Steve Regal. We come back right now.
Arn, that feels like that could have been the start of a serious hot angle between the two of you, my friend.
Been too easy, wouldn't it?
And you know what? Nope. It doesn't get any traction. Instead, you spend the rest of the month and most of the month of May feuding with Erik Watts or NWA World Champion Barry Windham. Bobby goes on to form a new tag team with the young Chris Benoit. But my goodness, what could have been with you and Bobby Eaton after that?
Yeah, just continuity and detail. It just, again, it was never looked at. Nobody ever looked at us as top talent. We were top guys, and we were used up and down the card, but we never got that 100% push like this. This could be a big deal. So we just played the cards we were dealt.
Man, you had so much passion in the promo, and you talk about you going off playing in the minor leagues. So there's the Smoky Mountain address. Lots of fun there. What could it have been? Arn, as we just saw, Bobby kept trying to get away from you in this interaction, unwilling to hear what you had to say. And listen, in typical Arn Anderson fashion, the final word was the spine buster, putting the exclamation point on the issue with Bobby Eaton and Bobby on his back. And to our faithful listeners, if your partner is avoiding you these days, trying to walk out of the room, and you failed to put that spine to the pine and lack the ability to hit that kill shot after years of past issues, then it's time that you look to our oldest partner. And yes, it's time. We're talking about Blue Chew this week, Arn.
Guys, don't overthink this thing, and everything doesn't have to be centered around a comedy skit, even though it's all positive with Blue Chew. Just, it works. The product works. If you've had any issues, if you just want to, make a date night more than what it used to be, make it special. It's one of those things that claims that it has all these magical powers, and it does. There's no BS to it. So jump on it, man. It's worth its weight in platinum.
There you go. And the process is simple, guys. Sign up at BlueChew.com. Consult with one of their licensed medical providers. And once you're approved, you'll get the prescription within days. If you don't like swallowing pills, no big deal. Blue Chew's tablets are chewable. And there are all kinds of reasons we know that guys can't perform, but not with Blue Chew. So check it out right now. BlueChew.com can make sure that you're able to perform at your very best every time. And you can try Blue Chew free when you use our promo code ARN at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. That's BlueChew.com, promo code ARN, to receive your first month absolutely free. Make sure you check out BlueChew.com for more details and safety info. Arn, we just mentioned Erik Watts. So the following 4 months, after you've been sidelined due to that injury and in real life the cowboy decision-making, you and Erik have more than unfinished business. And during the month of April and May, the two of you wrestle on many of the house shows together and even wrestle on TV, as we just alluded to. But thanks to what we just saw and the way WCW portrays you as a babyface here, you actually save Erik Watts from Bobby Eaton and Chris Benoit. You explain yourself after that, and of course, we have that. It's our fourth clip of the week, fourth of 5 clips, and it's you saving Erik Watts. Yes, I said that correctly. We're going to check it out together.
Coming into the ring to the aid of his partner, Woom dives off the top. Erik Watts had hooked the STF in the center of the ring on beautiful Bobby. We then had a 2-on-1 situation. Who comes to the rescue? None other than AA Arn Anderson, the Enforcer. There you see Anderson entering the ring, nailing Benoit, nailing beautiful Bobby. Let's go down to ringside and my partner, Tony Schiavone. Take it away, Tony.
All right, Arn making his way over here. And Arn, I tell you, I know on the main event a couple of weeks ago, a lot of bad blood started to build between you and beautiful Bobby, and seemingly that is not over.
Tony Schiavone, 3 months ago, if you told me any of this would be happening, I'd call you a liar. Bobby Eaton, you went your own way. A lot of things are going to be resolved between you and I. Erik Watts showed me one thing. He's got more guts than I thought he did, and he doesn't have to pay for the sins of his father anymore. He's his own man. But one thing I got to tell you, Bobby Eaton, you got a problem with me. We're going to solve it. Maybe I'll have to take a partner, somebody like Erik Watts, since apparently you've got one. Now you're running around with Slash and you're Shanghai Pierce. Tomorrow night, Shanghai Pierce, you want some of me? You're going to get it. And Barry Windham, the thing that is in my focus The one thing that is first and foremost on my mind, my friend, is we got a date. And we're not going to hold hands or play kissy face. We got a date, my friend, for that title, and I'm coming for you. Trust me.
There it is, the challenge, Barry Windham. So I'm looking forward to it, man. Despite the fact this turn in the angle doesn't make the most sense, you're saving Erik Watts. But listen, your ability to tell the story really helps us out here. It really brings this one home for our fans. But it leads me to ask you this, Arn. Were there plans for you and Erik Watts to team together, or would the 2 or 3 times you would do just be, hey, that's what we want, that's it?
Just say it, Paul, this sucked. This was a piece of the puzzle that sucked. It didn't fit nowhere. I tried to explain it away, and it just left a bad taste in my mouth. But it was another one of those situations, making chicken salad out of chicken shit, as we say in the business. It was just, was not having anything that made sense. You know what I mean?
Especially after we saw this awesome 7-Eleven parking lot brawl, the intense promos, all this, and now it's just...
It was too personal.
Yeah.
That piece of it should have never made air on TV. Just didn't make any sense.
How would you have liked to seen your program with Erik come to an end if you could do it all over again as we sit here?
God, I don't know. And I don't want to sit here geniusing my ass off thinking there was a good fix. I would think it would have probably, you could have gave me the win back and just move on.
Yeah. Well, listen, Arn, up next, we are going to move on, and we're going to mention that WCW does with Ric Flair because he can't wrestle. So, hey, you know what we're going to do? American Dream comes up with an idea, and that's Flair for the Gold talk show. And WCW had flirted with these kinds of presentations before, but this was certainly the most upscale, I would say, interview segment the company had attempted, and that makes sense because Eric Bischoff's now overseeing all television. So here we go. We got Flair for the Gold, and during the month of April, WCW invested a ton of television time into the show, taping several episodes that wouldn't air until May. We're going to include some of those segments in next week's show. But Arn, tell us about what you thought of the concept, using Rick in this way to get angles over. It included confrontations with the Hollywood Blondes, Paul Roma as the Four Horsemen. You got the debut of the Shockmaster. How can we not forget that? Him tripping over the set. The feud with Flair and Rude. And this is all stuff we're going to cover as we go through 1993. Do you think this was an effective way of using Nate?
Well, it was different. At least let him be himself, right?
Yeah.
And you had to get the idea, unless you understood that I was his Ed McMahon, unless you were clear about pointing that out so I could play the goofball sidekick. I was okay with it. The problem that nobody saw, and the way things were taped ahead and all that, I was still wrestling. Now, I just started back wrestling. And what people didn't understand is if you tape 3 shows and I was on a Flair for the Gold, but I was wrestling on those shows, I had to change clothes three or four times. Nobody understood that or saw that. And to try to cool down after you wrestled and, hey, you got a Flair for the Gold, in 20 minutes, you got to cool off. I'm a sweater. And, man, I sweat. It takes me longer than that to cool off. And it became a real logistics nightmare for me personally.
That's exactly where I was headed, because you said last time we brought this up that you wanted to tell us about the costume changes and how much of a nightmare it was. So
and to make it all the continuity fit, why is he sweating here? What is he sweating about? They don't know I wrestled 20 minutes ago.
Right.
It's so I wanted to explain that. It was a TV suddenly became a burden other than a pleasure.
Yeah, no, I get you. Our listeners have some questions about it as well. Dylan says he wants to know about the set, adding he always thought it looked pretty cool and maybe should be recreated someday. Who knows? Maybe for some fan photos or whatever. But what do you remember about that? I guess some production guys spent some time putting that whole set and stage together, huh?
There was nothing that I looked at and just went, that's rotten. Let's don't do that. There was no ever anything like that. I thought the set looked okay for what we had to work with.
The Michael Elgers wants to know your thoughts on where you rank Flair for the Gold when you think about other interview segment style shows like Piper's Pit and Brother Love, etc. He wants to know what Rick thought of Flair for the Gold. Do you remember?
I wouldn't put it in those class. You know, because they shot too many angles, really good angles like Piper's Pit and all those were notorious for having angles that occurred on them that lasted forever. You know, the Jimmy Snuka stuff, the Giant stuff.
Hogan Andre stuff, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was a different animal. We were filling a void to get past a month. They were doing that as a feature performance.
Did Rick like it? Was he a big fan of it?
I'm sure, yeah, because he got to be him.
Yeah. Yeah,
You know,
fed to his, yeah. Well, up next, let's talk about you challenging Barry Windham for the world title. The issue seemingly begins at Super Brawl, Arn, following Wyndham's big win over the Great Muta. Barry rejected Flair's attempt to celebrate with him, and this became the reason why, or the issues with you and Windham, and the fact that he disrespected Ric Flair, the greatest world champion of all time. So that's how this is all going to be started here, the storyline. But following the pay-per-view, you and Barry took a couple of shots at each other. But the issue intensifies here in April of '93. On the April 10th edition of WCW Saturday Night, Tony Schiavone conducts a ringside interview with you, and during the interview, you noted NWA World Champion Barry Windham snubbed Ric Flair in the Four Horsemen. You then declared you wanted a shot at Windham, and Windham wouldn't be able to snub you. During the same show, while on commentary, Barry said you were always a bridesmaid and never the bride. You confronted him, and as the show ended, with the two of you brawling, and this War Awards continued on, and things really escalated on April the 17th. That worldwide episode featured Barry and Steve Regal wrestling for the NWA title. Windham gets the win in 12 minutes following the jumping implant DDT, and then turned his comments to you, calling you the low man on the Horseman totem pole. And then they would officially announce the world title match April 24th, 1993 on an episode of Worldwide. And that match is to take place at Slamboree in May. And Arn, this is your first and only pay-per-view heavyweight championship match. So Arn, 11 years, and you had the title match. It's against one of the best wrestlers in the world, one of your best friends, one of the guys that you were very close to. So take us back to 1993. What did you first think when you heard, hey, you're going to get the nod, you're going to take him on at Slamboree for the world heavyweight title? Were you excited about that? What do you remember about that time period?
Well, you would always be. I would be excited about wrestling Barry Windham in Rome, Georgia, or Calhoun, Georgia, on a live event, just because it was an honor and a privilege to be wrestling Barry Windham. But it wasn't built like other world title matches. You know, they were just basing it, okay, everybody remembers he was a Horseman, and they were opponents, they were partners, they got all this history, but you still have to build the now and present angle, and he's the champion. That makes it different. He's the world champion. You would have had to have built it, and I knew they weren't going to build it properly and make it a big deal and a feature match on the show even.
Hey guys, need to call a quick timeout here. Wanted to tell your listeners what I've been telling my listeners over at OU didn't know for a while now about all the cool things happening over at adsfreeshows.com.
On the latest edition of The False Finish, Zach Gowen talks about reaching the top of the pro wrestling world against incredible physical odds before issues with immaturity got in his way.
It's not a talent issue, it's a maturity issue. We want to see you continue to wrestle, try new characters, become a heel, try new things, find a groove. The door is open, just mature a little bit. But it was almost fatherly, the way he sat me down and explained to me exactly why I was being released. And I'll always remember that, and I'll always thank Jim Ross every time I see him for that.
As Dog and Casio finished up their latest Ask Dog Anything, they kept the party going for ad-free shows members, answering more questions on a bonus overrun.
We were the main event. Me and Brian Christopher were the main event. Doug was in a up there match. Jamie Dundee was in a tag title match, I'm sure. And we just stopped and started playing pool and drinking. Like, that was what we did. We pulled through the median and turned around and just called from a payphone and said, yeah, our car can't make it.
That's just a small taste of what we got waiting for you. With 4 levels to choose from, see for yourself why Ads-Free Shows is the best value in wrestling today. Sign up now at adsfreeshows.com.
We have a few questions from our listeners concerning the program with Barry. Jonathan Woolridge asks, Arn, How would you feel about, instead of welcoming Rick back with open arms, a storyline where Barry and you turn your backs on Rick and accused him of abandoning you guys by going up north?
Makes sense, don't it?
Yeah, that could have been fun.
It could have made sense. Yep. And I'll just go you one better, maybe not better, but maybe better. If you left it like it was, and I beat Barry and I won the world title, and now Rick came up and said, okay, good job. Now time to step aside. You know your role.
Yeah, do the favor. Yeah.
Now you got an angle. Something that you didn't see coming, and strong based on that one promo. Just like that, because the history is always was his enforcer. I made it possible for him to be champion all that time. And to suddenly be champion and saying, get in line like everybody else, might have drew a few dollars.
Oh my God! I mean, it's almost like Cain and Abel. I mean, it writes itself with the brotherhood that you two shared. Could have been awesome. Michael Eldridge says, I think Arn's stated in past shows how he never considered himself a top guy for a world title run. Does he ever wish he had gotten a U.S. title run?
No, not. I don't feel like my career suffered that I wasn't this champion or that champion. It's based on a body of work over time. I think that's how you establish yourself. You know, if you want to be remembered and regarded in the long run, in this business, it's performance over time, over a long period of time, and consistency. And it's not, was he a world champion? Was he not a world champion? You are who you are based on your performance and what the audience has paid to see you perform. Did you always make them happy they did? I think that's how you get over and stay over in this business, not how many titles you had.
I'm with you. I mean, when people say your name, Arn, it's not only is it consistency, one of the best promos of all time, spine busters. I mean, there's just a list of things that they go through as far as best of all time that you're on that list. And so, to me, that's what defines your career and what you've been able to do in the ring. We need to discuss, as we start to wrap up the show this week, the other top-line creative going on that is a huge feud developing between WCW World Champion Vader and Cactus Jack. We've already seen how this program began, but these two amped up the physicality, Arn, in a huge way in April 1993. The first encounter takes place on April 17th on an episode of WCW Saturday Night. Vader and Cactus freaking potato each other in this show. At one point, because Cactus wanted to be busted open the hard way, Vader hits him so hard and so many times that he blackened both of his eyes, broke his nose. And on his show, Folia's Pod, Cactus told Conrad that Harley was supposed to be the one to bust him open, but the shots from Vader actually already did the job. He didn't need Harley to do that. Cactus wins this encounter in 13 minutes by way of a countout. An enraged Vader demanded a rematch. And in our final clip of the week, we have a very violent segment, Arn, in what would be a 9-month storyline. It's our fifth and final clip. It's April 24th, 1993. It's the main event of WCW Saturday Night. Here we go. It's Vader and Cactus, two of the biggest, baddest, craziest sons of bitches that ever put on wrestling boots. We're going to watch it.
The heavyweight champion of the world. And I know that on May 23rd he has Davey Boy Smith for the world title, but he's not thinking about that right now. He's thinking about surviving.
He don't dare think about nothing but what's happening at this moment. Oh, yeah. Now the steam has left Cactus. I believe he's at Vader's mercy now, Tony.
I don't know.
And you know the champ feels no pain and has no mercy for anybody. Who's the man, he yells.
Slapping Cactus around.
And all you can say is, Vader, you're the man right now.
Right, absolutely. Here he goes again.
He might be able to pin him right here. He's not even attempting to pin him, Tony. He's going up for a third. Referee may have to stop this.
You're right. Third time now.
Oh, he missed it.
He was attempting to step right on him that time. All of the weight on the feet, he missed. Cactus rolled out of the way, and he goes right to the midsection.
I think Vader made a mistake by not attempting to get a pinfall there. He's allowed Cactus to come back. Whoa, leg drop right over the bottom strand.
Ahead, a big fan Vader, the world champion. Smash to the bottom turn rope. There they go. Well, this is where we started, Jesse, and here we are again.
We started on the floor, and I guess it'll end on the floor, Tony. Why would we? Whoa!
Yeah, why would you think anything different, right?
What strength by Cactus. He picks up the 450-pound Vader, slams him on the floor.
Well, security moving the safety rail away. Because you never know what's going to happen here. Bodies are clearing out right here in ringside.
Referee's holding race off.
Oh! He tried his maneuver, his somersault.
Insane.
And
Look, now
missed.
they're taking the mats off.
Vader rolled out of the way. And Race has pulled up. Look what Race has done. He's pulled up the mats.
Wait a minute.
Race has
cement floor.
Something. That's the concrete, Tony. Race has removed the mats.
If he power bombs him here, Jesse, he'll kill him. Whoa, whoa, no! Oh!
He power bombed him on the cement, Tony.
He's not moving.
Look at his eyes.
Gone.
He's out.
He's not going to get up. He can count all day. He's not. Power bombed him on the cement. You see, his eyes are open. This match is over.
We got a major problem here, Tony.
We really do. We have to go to a break. The referee over Cactus Jack fans.
Arn, his eyes were open, but nobody was home.
Nothing to say except call an ambulance. And I'm not making a joke.
Yeah.
You know what somebody looks like when they're knocked out. And he just got power bombed on cement that did not budge. His head probably hit before anything, even though it was flat, it still hit on cement.
It's unbelievable. I mean, these two guys, they had amazing chemistry, easily each other's top 3 to 5 opponents. But you've been in some crazy fights, right? We've talked about war games, bunkhouse stampedes, steel cages, street fights. But how much is too much when it comes to doing, some of the stuff?
That, just knowing what my body could take, if I would have took that, that would have been a stretcher job for me. My neck would not have, which was already, it started to be an issue, would have never withstood that. And, and I've seen how the fans, feel about, Crazy Jack, and they at least thank him and respect him and are aware of what he did for this business. And he gave his body above and beyond anybody else I can think of, to make his opponent and to make the fans realize, man, there's something different and special about this. And the guy gave his health and gave his body and everything he has, for this business. And it's good to see that at least people understand that, our fans.
Do you remember this feud at all, or at this time period?
Yeah. I mean, and the thing is, it was Jack beating himself up and Leon beating him up. It wasn't he was bouncing Leon around like that.
Mm-mm.
It was he was beating his body up and Leon was beating his body up. So he was in a handicap match every time he went to the ring.
He was punching.
Yeah, it was him against him and whoever the opponent was.
When Leon or Vader was punching him in the ring before he started doing all the splashes, well, I think he picked his head up and just started slugging him. I'm like, this is as real as real can be. He's just taking it.
Yeah, he'd latch up. That's for sure. It was physical.
Dylan says, what did Arn think of Mick at this time? Did he think Mick had star potential?
I wasn't worried about that. I was worried about him getting crippled.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it was never a funny thing. It was like, Jesus Christ,
Sure.
man.
So, Arn, this wraps us up for this month's coverage. We're all over the place. So many irons in the fire for you here. You got the reforming of the Four Horsemen, feuding with Bobby Eaton and Erik Watts, setting the sights on Barry Windham in the world title, and then the Flair for the gold. So, man, lots going on. But that's going to include this week's show. Next week, we're going to talk about the build to Slamboree 1993, a Legends reunion. Not only is this the first WCW Hall of Fame ceremony, but the card features a returning Sid Vicious. The British Bulldog makes his pay-per-view debut, challenging Vader for the world title, and you, my friend, challenge Barry Windham for the NWA world title in your only world title pay-per-view match. So join us next week to hear all about it. Arn, thank you so much for doing this with me this week, my friend.
Paul, you're the best. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate everybody out there, and the comic book, graphic novels on the way, folks.
It is. Check it out, man. Make sure that you're a part of it, and it is coming soon. Until then, on behalf of the founder of the Four Horsemen, the Hall of Famer, the Enforcer, Arn Anderson, this is Paul Bromwell. We'll see you right back here next week on another episode of Arn.
Eric Bischoff here again, telling you about our friends over at SaveWithConrad.com. Now, Conrad's always talking about how they are helping homeowners save money, but did you know that Conrad and his team can also help you become a homeowner? They make the home buying process more enjoyable than, I don't know, making out with Stephanie and Linda. Ouch! But don't take my word for it.
Hi, I'm Sarah Davis, and I'm from Nashville, Tennessee. So my husband has been a huge fan of Conrad's podcast for many, many years, and for years, we were on road trips, and he would have me listen to it, and then I got really into it. And so when it came time for us to buy a house, it was kind of like, there's really no other option at this point. Like, we have to go down this path, right? It was the best. I worked with Steve. I don't know what to do. I was looking more for preparing to buy a house. How do I get this in order? What does this need to look like? What do I need to move around? What's more important that I pay off first? Because I'm a first-time home buyer. I don't know what that needs to look like. So that's when I called you guys and I talked with Steve, and phenomenal from day one. I got a full education on home buying before I was ever asked to fill out an application, before I was ever asked to do anything, which is just, I mean, I cannot brag on you guys enough. I literally cannot tell enough people about you, because we would not have a home if it weren't for you, if it weren't for that interaction and weren't for the learning process. And I feel like I went into being a first-time homebuyer by the time we got through the end of the process with the same education that people need 4 or 5 homes to buy. And so now I feel like, all right, well, we can do this. We can do real estate. I can actually make good decisions and ask good questions at closing and beyond because of everything that you taught me. My name is Sarah Davis, and I got into my dream home with Save with Conrad.
And unlike the dirt sheets, we're not making this up. Check out all the 5-star reviews. Go to SaveWithConrad.com and do it today. You'll be grateful you did.
NMLS number 65084, Equal Housing Lender. Woo!